Why confident people fail more. The one rule nobody knows. Right now, you're carrying assumptions that could destroy everything you've built. The most dangerous thing in your life isn't what you don't know, it's what you're absolutely certain about that's wrong. History's greatest minds didn't fail because they were stupid. They failed because they were too confident. I'm about to show you why the smartest operators in the world, from hostage negotiators to cybersecurity experts, actively distrust their own judgment. And the final insight in this video will completely rewire how you make decisions. Stay until the end, because what I reveal will save you years of wasted effort. Why intelligence agencies bet against their own analysis. Let me tell you about Operation Eagle Claw, 1980. The US military had the best intelligence, the best training, the best equipment to rescue hostages in Iran. They were absolutely certain the mission would succeed. It failed catastrophically. 8 servicemen died, and America's reputation took a massive hit. What went wrong? Not the plan, the certainty in the plan. Here's what separates elite performers from everyone else. They actively work against their own conclusions. The CIA has an entire department dedicated to proving their analysts wrong. Think about that. They pay people to attack their own intelligence assessments. Why? Because they learned the hard way that confidence is the enemy of accuracy. Look at modern cybersecurity. The best penetration testers don't trust any system, including ones they built themselves. They assume breach. They assume failure. They assume their defenses will be penetrated. This isn't pessimism, it's operational realism that saves billions in prevented attacks. Their motto? Trust nothing, verify everything. Wall Street's greatest collapses came from certainty. Long-term capital management had Nobel Prize winners absolutely certain their mathematical models were flawless. They lost $4.6 billion in months. Lehman Brothers was certain they understood risk. They triggered a global financial meltdown. Enron was certain their accounting was smart. They became a cautionary tale. The pattern is always the same. Brilliant people, solid data, reasonable assumptions. Total disaster. The missing ingredient? The Distrust Protocol. The willingness to assume you're wrong, even when everything says you're right. This is where discipline meets reality. High performance isn't about being smarter, it's about being less stupid through systematic doubt. Navy SEALs use red cell exercises where teammates actively try to destroy mission plans. They hunt for weaknesses before the enemy does. They question assumptions before bullets fly. This methodology keeps them alive in situations where confidence would kill them. Apply this to your business, your career, your investments. What are you certain about? That your market won't shift? That your skills will stay relevant? That your strategy is sound? Each certainty is a vulnerability waiting to be exploited. The mental discipline to question your own convictions is what separates those who adapt from those who become obsolete. Drop the word protocol in the comments if you've identified a dangerous assumption in your life. What belief are you most certain about that might need challenging? Hit that like button if this perspective is already shifting. Something for you. How expert blindness destroyed billion-dollar companies. Here's something most people never realize. Expertise creates vulnerability. The better you get at something, the bigger your blind spots become. This isn't theory. Neuroscience proves that mastery actually reduces cognitive flexibility in specific domains. Your brain optimizes for speed by creating shortcuts, and those shortcuts become traps. BlackBerry's engineers were phone experts. They knew mobile technology inside and out. When the iPhone launched, they were certain it would fail, too expensive. Battery wouldn't last. No physical keyboard. Their expertise made them blind to a paradigm shift. Within 5 years, BlackBerry went from 50% market share to irrelevance. Their competence became their coffin. Professional poker players understand this deeply. The biggest pots aren't lost by beginners, they're lost by experienced players who know how opponents will play. That certainty makes them predictable and exploitable. The best players deliberately cultivate uncertainty about their reads. They build multiple models of each opponent and switch between them dynamically. NASA's Mars Climate Orbiter mission failed because expert engineers were certain they'd communicated correctly. One team used metric units, another used imperial. Nobody checked because everyone was confident the system worked. $125 million burned up in Mars's atmosphere because expertise eliminated verification. You need to weaponize doubt against your own mastery. Here's the practice. Every month, identify your strongest professional belief and research the opposite position. If you're certain remote work is best, study why an office is superior. If you're sure your market is stable, analyze what could disrupt it. Force cognitive dissonance deliberately. It's uncomfortable, but it keeps your mind sharp. Formula One racing teams do this brilliantly. After every race, they hold failure mode analysis sessions where they imagine everything that could have gone wrong, even on winning races. They hunt for near misses that could become catastrophes. This mindset is why they can make split-second decisions at 200 mph. They've already anticipated failure modes before experiencing them. The mental architecture of resilience requires you to be your own worst critic. Not to demoralize yourself, but to stress test your strategies before reality does it for you. Build the discipline to challenge your expertise, especially in areas where you feel most confident. Comment blindness. If you recognize expertise creating limitations in your field, where are you so good that you might be missing something critical? Don't forget to like, if this framework is making sense. What elite negotiators know that you don't? FBI hostage negotiators have a rule. Assume you misunderstood. Even when a kidnapper says something crystal clear, they paraphrase and verify. Let me make sure I heard you right. Isn't politeness, it's tactical skepticism. One misinterpretation can mean death. So they institutionalize doubt as standard operating procedure. This approach saved countless lives in the 1993 Waco siege. Aftermath. The FBI completely changed their negotiation protocols because they realized their certainty about David Koresh's intentions led to disaster. Now, they assume multiple possible interpretations of every communication. They build decision trees based on different versions of truth, not just the obvious one. Private equity firms that consistently win use the same logic. Before acquiring a company, they don't just do due diligence, they do due diligence on their due diligence. They hire separate teams to challenge the first team's conclusions. They actively look for reasons not to do deals everyone else thinks are obvious wins. This double-blind approach prevents billions in value destruction. Professional poker player Annie Duke wrote an entire book on this concept. Thinking in Bets. Her core insight: every decision is a bet with incomplete information. The moment you feel certain, you've stopped calculating odds. Elite players stay in probability mode, never in certainty mode. They make millions by being less wrong than opponents, not by being right. Implement this immediately. For any major decision, write down what would have to be true for you to be wrong. Not just one thing, 10 things. Then systematically investigate each one. If you're about to launch a product, list 10 reasons customers won't buy. If you're hiring someone, document 10 ways they could fail. This forces your brain out of confirmation bias mode. Homicide detectives use something called alternative hypothesis generation. For every suspect, they build equally compelling cases for innocence and guilt. They deliberately argue both sides with equal vigor. Only after this process do they commit to a theory. This method reduces wrongful convictions and catches actual criminals faster. The discipline here isn't cynicism, it's precision. You're not doubting to paralyze action. You're doubting to eliminate false paths before they waste resources. Strategic distrust accelerates good decisions by killing bad ones early. Type precision if you're ready to build this systematic doubt into your process. What decision are you facing where this approach could change the outcome? Smash that like button if you're seeing how powerful this is. Issei a paranoia fast su mayor attivo. Here's the game changer. Institutional paranoia creates competitive advantage. Companies that build distrust into their culture dominate. Individuals who systematize skepticism win. This isn't about being negative, it's about being antifragile. Amazon's working backwards process starts every project by writing the press release announcing failure. They force teams to articulate why the product died before building it. This pre-mortem methodology kills bad ideas before they consume resources. While competitors discover problems after launch, Amazon discovers them in design. That's why they can move fast while staying efficient. Quantitative hedge funds use similar logic with their algorithms. They don't just test strategies against historical data, they stress test against impossible scenarios. What if volatility increased 10x overnight? What if correlations inverted? They assume their models are wrong and build systems that survive model failure. That's why they profit during market chaos when traditional funds collapse. Top athletes have embraced this too. Olympic coaches run disaster simulations where they create everything going wrong: equipment failure, bad weather, injury scares. Athletes practice performing under worst-case conditions. When actual competition happens, reality feels easy compared to simulated catastrophes. Their confidence comes from expecting the worst, not from denying it could happen. Build your personal distrust architecture. Starting today, create a weekly red team session where you attack your own plans. Can be 15 minutes in a journal. List your current strategies and argue why each will fail. Then design countermeasures. This simple practice compounds into massive advantage over time. Tech startups that survive understand this instinctively. They practice chaos engineering, deliberately breaking their own systems to see what fails. Netflix pioneered this with Chaos Monkey, software that randomly kills servers to test resilience. Sounds crazy? They had zero downtime during the biggest traffic surge in internet history. Competitors crashed. The ultimate insight: distrust is a form of respect. You respect complexity enough to stay humble. You respect change enough to stay flexible. You respect reality enough to never assume you've figured it out. This mindset doesn't make you hesitant, it makes you antifragile. You bend instead of breaking because you expected the win. Comment method if you're implementing this immediately. Share this video with someone who needs to challenge their assumptions. Subscribe because we're just getting started uncovering the real secrets of elite performance. Disclaimer: this content is for educational and motivational purposes. Historical and corporate references illustrate strategic thinking principles. Consult qualified professionals for specific decisions in your areas of operation.